Hello, everyone. Welcome to Your Life Story podcast. Everyone has a story, a series of moments, choices, and turning points that shape who we are. Your Life Story is a podcast about exploring those journeys. And today, I welcome Vanessa Federici to our podcast to talk about her journey and what she's been through and what she has to teach us. So, Vanessa, tell us a little bit about what you're doing and what you're really excited about these days, and then we'll get into how you got there. I'm so excited.
Sure. So I have recently been certified in mat Pilates and bar over the summer. So I've decided to pursue my passion in teaching classes. And during this whole journey that I started, I actually developed a TikTok page called the
Hmm.
Ballerina Barre Method. And that's basically just a community that I started over the summer, and it's growing at a nice rate. Just to kind of share simple life tricks to maintain a healthy lifestyle after 40, and I do so through my own inspiration.
That's amazing. And so, but you do have obviously a whole past and you're doing other things at the same time.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, let's back up a little bit and tell me, a little bit more about where this all came from and how it all started. I mean, you just said like changing your life after 40. So go ahead.
Sure.
Give me a little bit more info.
So I had a weight problem as a young girl. So growing up as a teenager, I was always on the heavier side. And when I was 23, I lost all my weight. And I kept it off from about 23 to about 40.
Mhm.
And during that course, I was always physically active and, counting my calories and always challenging myself. And then COVID hit,
Mm.
right? And I started to incrementally gain weight.
Okay.
And during that time, it was hard for me to get back on track. It was very difficult, and I tried so many different things. And then I started to kind of look intrinsically within myself and say, like, why isn't this working? Like, how was I able to maintain this weight loss for so many years, which statistically most people, you know, do gain it back? And why am I at this point now? Right.
Mm.
So, what do I need to do to feel good again? And I started to build small routines. So I started to challenge myself differently. And this is after trying many different things. So I took a different approach. And instead of going on a diet, right, where I was going to restrict myself, I started to build different goals. The first one being 20 minutes on the elliptical every day. And as I achieved those goals, I incrementally added. So I added to my nutrition, I added to my fitness lifestyle.
Mm.
And I started to kind of look more into the internal process
Mhm.
rather than the physical aspect. You know,
Mhm. So, okay. Um, I'm interested in the incremental because I think that's really a big part of like what you do. So you didn't just say to yourself, I'm going to do it all at once. I'm going to do the elliptical, I'm going to do and the diet and the this and the that all at once. You sort of started one thing at a time. And I just want to go back a second to when you were talking about being able to keep your weight off for from 23 to 40, let's say. Your mindset then, like what were you doing it for? How much were you restricting yourself? Because you use the word restricting and how did you really make it work? And then let's move into like what's changed now, like to compare, because you're talking about that inner work and things like that. So go back to your mindset when you were 23 to 40, like what you did to lose it or what your mindset was
so
then.
my mindset was very different when I was in my 20s up until my late 30s and 40. I think that, for so long I was overweight, and having lost the weight, I never really saw myself as a thin person. So I was really riddled with like body dysmorphia in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like the way I looked. So I never saw myself as thin. And the
Mm-hmm.
goal in, eating a certain way or being restrictive was always to be thin. It was
Mm-hmm.
not other aspects of it. I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy my physical activity, but I think that I was really restrictive in the sense that I would not steer away from my macros. I would not steer away from my eating plan. And when I did on those occasions,
Mm-hmm.
I went overboard, right? So there was no balance into my eating
Mm-hmm.
habits and even exercise. I would go overboard and then exercise excessively to compensate for what I ate the night before, right?
Right. Sort of
And
like punishing yourself.
yeah, and never feeling good about myself, no matter how thin I was. Like, I think I
Mm-hmm.
was probably 20 pounds thinner than I am now, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
felt always fat. I always felt fat. I always
Mm-hmm.
felt that I didn't have a nice body. And it's so funny because, now I'm a little bit more voluptuous, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but I love my body, and I love the fact that I'm able to have a balanced lifestyle, that I'm not confined to macros. I'm not confined to a certain amount of physical activity every week. I listen to my body. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that that is the really big change that happened. And initially, when I first started to, go towards a health journey in my 40s after having put the weight back, I
Mm-hmm.
started with the same mindset. I wanted to be skinny. So I did so many different things, Sharon. Like, I did Jenny Craig, I did Weight Watchers, I tried
Mm-hmm.
GLP-1s, and nothing worked. Nothing worked.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was taking Ozempic and still managing to binge,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just because, again, I wasn't looking to build a healthy lifestyle or a healthy mindset. I was looking to be
Mm-hmm.
skinny, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I
Yeah.
plunged. Yeah.
I really let me just reflect back a little bit because the things that you're saying is like you were thinner than you are now. Like you were thin, you never saw yourself as thin, you never felt good about yourself, and you didn't love your body. And now you love your body. And I want to know more about like what you love about your body. And then also how, you have more of a sense of freedom now and you don't feel confined. So between like the ages going back to 23 to 40, you felt confined, right? You really felt like you were in a jail. It sounds like you were in this jail of your mind, and now you have this sense of freedom. So, yeah, can you talk to me a little bit more about that sense of freedom to help people understand what it's like to have that sense of freedom now?
I think that um, I respect my body a lot more, and
Mm-hmm.
I respect what it can do for me at
Mm-hmm.
47.
Mm-hmm.
So, part of that stems from, my practice of Pilates and bar,
Mm-hmm.
because as I progressed into that practice, there's a lot of mind body connection that goes, that ties into it. So you kind of learn to connect your mind to your body. And I mean, I'm doing things at 47 in terms of my, my core strength and my flexibility and all of that I wasn't able to do at 23, even being in
Mm-hmm.
tip-top shape. And I mean, I rode my bike to Quebec City. I was a
Mm-hmm.
CrossFitter. I mean, anything under the sun I did, you know, but what I'm able to do with my body now, the movement I'm able to achieve because I'm in touch, is incredible, and I respect it. And it's something that requires a lot of discipline
Mm-hmm.
and patience with the practice, patience within yourself, right? Because you don't start flexible, you don't start being able to do like, all these planks and deep core work. It's something that you build, and you build it with
Mm-hmm.
patience and, discipline. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
It's
that's,
interesting. because discipline brings freedom. There is a quote, it's a lot of people say that, like with discipline, you become free.
Mhm.
So with your discipline, you become free from, tell me what.
I think you become free from any type of restraints.
Hmm.
You become like, especially mental. I mean, if we follow our motivation, right?
Hmm.
We're not always motivated,
Hmm.
especially, in the winter, or, sometimes life happens and you're down and you don't feel like it. You're not motivated. And those are the times where you just don't think. That's where discipline kicks in, right?
Right.
And you just do it.
Yeah.
And when you do, during those times where your discipline kicks in and you just do it, that's when you feel the best about yourself. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I did this,
Yeah.
maybe like 10 minutes into your workout or your practice or whatever, you're not fully present. But
Hmm.
as it progresses, you start to become present. So,
Hmm.
you know, discipline is so important. It's
Yeah.
it's it's
Yeah.
really,
And it becomes a habit. It's like it becomes a habit.
it
And
becomes a
not
habit.
doing it feels worse than doing it. Like you know the cost of not doing it.
Exactly.
And the cost of not doing it becomes way too expensive.
It does. And that's why I say, try to build small, right?
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
always use this analogy. It's kind of like when you're building a house, right? If you don't build a solid foundation, your
Hmm.
house will collapse, right? But if you start small and you
Yeah.
build a solid foundation, you increase your confidence level, right?
Hmm.
So if you
Yeah.
set a goal of, I don't know, doing 20 jumping jacks a day for a week, and you achieve that goal, you're going to feel good about yourself because you achieved it, right? And
Hmm.
maybe you're going to want to add something else to it. But if you take a different approach, well, I'm just using the holidays because the holidays are just,
Hmm.
Christmas just happened and we all ate a lot. Oh, I ate so much during Christmas. I am going on a detox. I am not eating anything but soup. I am doing an hour and a half of cardio a day. You're setting unrealistic expectation and you're putting additional pressure on yourself,
Hmm. Yeah.
which raises your cortisol level, you know
Hmm.
so you're not really enjoying the process of physical activity and eating healthy, which is such a big impact to your mental well-being as well.
It is.
Yeah,
It is. I know. Yeah. I'm studying nutrition. So the cortisol levels that keep us in stress are not good for our whole body and our mind and our everything, right? Like
yeah.
the way our body functions. So yeah. And yeah, it's all really good information. And so, finding the Pilates, doing the small increments every day, adding those habits every day, sort of all together has brought you to like where you are now, right?
Exactly.
And so, what are some of the things that you share on your TikTok that you want to share with us that you really love?
So I started the TikTok in the summer as a kind of hobby,
Hmm.
building a community really to get a message across, and create a community that is non-judgmental, that is just honest, and I try to share real approaches to like my experiences, right, to healthy
Hmm.
living, and simple stories. And another reason why I created the TikTok is also because there's such a stigma on Pilates and bar, right?
Oh.
Yeah, there's this ideology that if you can't do Pilates unless you're young and thin, right? So
Mm.
I kind of wanted to share, like, hey, I'm 47, I'm not, 20 and super thin.
Right.
I'm in the practice, and if I can do the practice coming from where I started, then anyone can.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's really a community meant to inspire,
Mm.
and create
Yeah.
kind of like a sense of well-being without feeling like you have to invest in all these products, and like social media is so saturated with so many different influencers with their 25-step skincare routine, or all of their spend the day with me while I shop here and there, and not everybody fits that mold.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to create something that was just kind of simple,
Yeah.
and inclusive.
Yeah. And sharing things that you like, I've seen it. So sharing things that you can do at home, sharing things that are making that are keeping you strong, right? That are filling your soul, that's
Yeah.
working in your life, So
Yeah.
um and so I guess now is a good time to acknowledge you for that because you have a full-time job, a full-time career, and then at the same time going through some personal things, and then at the same time saying to yourself, I got to change the way I do things. I'm in my 40s now. What I did wasn't working, and I don't even like that mindset. And something told you, that's it, I got to change. And so, um, I think that's also part of why the story is so much fun to talk about and so inspiring because you are coming from that place of having so much on your shoulders, so much on your plate,
Mhm.
and yet you still took that time to like take care of yourself. So, can you describe or talk about that moment where you were like, I got to do this?
I think it just came to a point where if I was having my hip was hurting,
Mm-hmm.
and I was starting to feel like I was hiding. And again, I want to just go back to it being a physical thing and having body dysmorphia. So I put on this weight during the pandemic. It was a perfect time because I could hide. And it stopped me. It stopped me from being social. It stopped me from, trying out new things. It impacted my confidence level. So for me, it was really important. And the turning point was that here I am investing, and I invested so much money into different ways of losing weight. And I said to myself, like, what am I doing here? Like this is my life. I need to take control of it. And I started small and I said, you know what? I don't care anymore. I'm just going to do what makes me happy, because it's not about losing a certain amount of weight in a couple of weeks. It's the long-term effect of a healthy lifestyle that's so important. And, as you progress into your healthy lifestyle, it opens so many different horizons in your mind when you look at it from a mental perspective, because you're
Mm-hmm.
able to embrace the journey rather than to put pressure on yourself for the end goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I mean, I started Pilates, I think 4 or 5 years ago as a
Mm-hmm.
novice. I was always very into strength training and the very hardcore gym girl,
Mm-hmm.
CrossFit and those types of things. And I started Pilates, and I never thought that I would be able to really enjoy it or be good at it because I was never a flexible girl. I'm very tall. I'm 5'9". So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
flexibility is not something that comes naturally for me. I have, long legs, and I can't exactly grab my ankle. And I started to notice these changes in my body, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and what I was able to do. And, that coupled with the balanced eating, right? Transformed my physique, but I wasn't paying attention to that. I was paying attention to, my practice and what I was doing. So in January, last January, I decided I wanted to get certified, and 47, becoming a Pilates instructor is kind of like very unconventional, especially that, I'm in the corporate world. So I said, you know what? I want to get certified, and I don't want to get certified to teach. Like that was my mindset. I just want to get it. I want to have a better understanding of the practice. And I was spending a lot of time in Miami over the last few years. And then last year I tried a barre class, a heated barre class, and I fell in love with it. So barre is just like Pilates, but on a ballerina bar. So I got certified for barre first because that was really my passion. And then I said, you know what? I follow a very well respected instructor online, and I wanted to be certified by her. So I went to
Mm-hmm.
California and I got certified, and I loved it. And you know what? Like teaching and inspiring people, is such a pleasure, you know?
Yeah.
When, you know, especially when you see that girl who's a little bit, or the woman or the girl, or, you know, that's a little bit intimidated, that's a little bit unsure of themselves, you know, and
Hmm.
that's really where I feel I can do the most work,
Hmm.
when
Yeah.
to build that confidence, because
Hmm.
it's so positive. So I started teaching, and I
Yeah.
absolutely love it.
And
It's
you were there. It sounds like you see yourself in those people, and you want to let them know that they can
yeah,
because you can. And
exactly.
and the other thing I had a glimpse of when you were talking before was it really only started to kick in, and this is a really great lesson. Wow. It really only started to kick in when you started listening to yourself and when you were able to start listening to your own body.
Hmm.
That's when you started to feel better, do your exercises, eat well, and put together whatever program was helping you because you kept reaching for something else, paying for a program, following somebody, doing this. And there was like all that pressure, which we all understand. It's normal.
Yeah.
But your part of your message is when you started to look within, you know?
Hmm.
And so that's really interesting. I like I find that very interesting and it just became very clear to me. So um yeah, so moving forward now, you are you're getting into teaching. Again, you started this in your 40s and all of a sudden you have this desire and passion to continue doing this practice of bar and and not mat Pilates, but Pilates, and and it's as if something else is growing from within you,
Hmm.
and you are allowing it to.
Hmm.
You're really allowing it to grow within you. What is like pushing you to do this? Where are you getting that energy? Where are you getting that spark?
You know, I want to go back to discipline, because when you say spark, it's not every day I wake up with a spark,
Yes.
energy. But I think that what drives me is that, um, it's just something that settles my mind, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
it's something that I can't explain. I never thought I would be a Pilates instructor. And, you know, Pilates in itself, and I'm going to group Pilates and bar together just to
Mm-hmm.
kind of simplify things. But Pilates is in itself is a discipline, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when you learn and when you appreciate that discipline, I mean, Pilates used to be called controlology. That's what Joseph Pilates initially called it. And it was a mind body control, like controlling your body. It kind of there's like a domino effect into other areas of your life, because
Mm-hmm.
you take that discipline into other areas of your life, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
you want to be healthier, you want to eat healthier, you want to you know, look a certain way, not physically, but you know, be neat and have an organized home, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just something that, you know, that's really what drives me. And
Mm-hmm.
also that I can really inspire people
Mm-hmm.
through my own story, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I really want to, you know, get that message across that you don't have to start at 1,000. You can start
Mm-hmm.
at 10, because, you know, it's the long term effects that you're looking for. It's the long term healthy lifestyle. So, you know, I don't believe in cutting carbs or cutting any food group necessarily out. I mean, you know, everyone has their own dietary restrictions, which
Yep.
I appreciate, but to say that, you know, I'm not eating carbs or I'm fasting for 18 hours, if that works for you, I really, whatever works for you, but I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
I don't believe in depriving yourself of anything. I believe in making healthy choices,
Mm-hmm.
conscientious choices, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but also listening to your body and enjoying those moments, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you're
Mm-hmm.
out. And
Hmm.
this is going back to me 20 years ago. I would go out and, I'm having fish with no oil and or chicken and no salt and no this. And are you really enjoying the moment, the social aspect of being out for
Right.
dinner,
Yeah.
right? You know?
And our body does need the salt and it does need the oil. So, I mean, that's for sure. But it doesn't need like the fried fish and the French fries, you know what I mean? But it does
No.
need the oil and it does need the fish and it does need the salt, for sure. And there was something I want. Yeah, it's interesting because, you found this practice. Other people listening to this podcast might find another practice that
Mhm.
helps them. So this practice of Pilates and bar, right,
Mhm.
has brought you to a place where it's like a story that you live by. It sounds like it sort of frames your lifestyle.
Mhm.
So, and it goes into everything, like even your home and how you clean up and how you things keeps organized, or how you make sure that everything around you and your environment is the way you feel you need it to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. And
Like I
so,
may not want to go out, like and have a drinking night. Like I don't think that any is, during the holidays, people will go out, they'll drink, or Friday nights, you'll have a girls' night. And, what's your first instinct? Oh, let's grab a bottle of wine.
right.
Because I have this practice and this lifestyle and this discipline, I don't steer towards that because
Yeah.
there's no long-term good effects
Yeah.
of, having that lifestyle. I'd rather be in bed. And as boring as it sounds, I'd rather be in bed at 10 o'clock and be up at 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
And by
Yeah.
9 a.m., when I start my corporate job, I've already, done my workout and built my routine for my upcoming class. And, I journal every morning. I wake up, the first thing I
Mhm.
do is I have a gratitude journal and whatever and it could be like just a couple of different things that I'm grateful for. And that sets a precedence for the day,
Hmm. Yeah, so the more we talk, the more I see how this has really entered like your whole life, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and how helpful it's been. So if you could name like a couple of things where you really see a difference in your life by finding a practice that and lifestyle, let's say, right?
Mhm.
Because it kind of goes hand in hand in how it has evolved into the life you're living and what you love about it. Like, can you
Uh,
find me a couple of things?
I think that the biggest thing is patience, that I've
Okay.
developed patience in other aspects of my life because you have to
Okay.
develop patience within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So until you develop patience within yourself to blossom and bloom, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're putting extra pressure. So the biggest thing for me is patience. And I see that having, you know, built that patience and that self-respect within myself, it's kind of made me have more patience with others in other areas of my life. So like I'm a
Mm-hmm.
corporate girl, I'm a career girl, I'm a hands-on girl. I run a team of 30 people. Patience wasn't always my forte, Sharon. I'm very
Mm.
like go, go, go. And if you can't
Mm.
keep up with me, then you know, and I've learned to be take a different approach and just be more empathetic and kind of be more patient with people, because not everybody evolves at the same rate,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
that that's the biggest thing. I know it's, I could say like, well, I kind of like that, I can wear I don't know, a bikini at 47 and feel good
Mm-hmm.
in it, and but no, like that's just I would say that's the second hand effect of everything for me, you
Mm-hmm.
know it's more of the mindset that I've developed through all of this,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and also the realization that, hey, I can do anything I set my mind to, you know,
Right.
there are no limits. I mean, you know, it's there's no age limit to pursuing your passion. You
Right.
don't have to be too old for anything.
Yeah.
And I think that that's another takeaway for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So patience and not necessarily to look at how old you are,
Yeah.
but just what is it that you want to do and
Hmm.
do it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that hits home for me as I'm changing my careers, as some people listening to this podcast know. going from one thing to the other, right? Um, Helping people on the outside and now helping people on the inside, right?
Mhm.
But always helping people on the outside, always help people on the inside, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And so, we've talked about quite a few things now. I'm wondering if what are we missing in this conversation that you want, people to know about, and maybe you want to talk more about your TikTok a little bit, what
Well,
you have plans for the future, or yeah.
I mean, right now I kind of just went on TikTok and I went with it, and during the course of like sharing my story, I started sharing bar workouts and I came up with the Ballerina Bar Method, which is my methodology, and that's what I use it. That's what my TikTok account is called. And I think that I'm looking forward to getting a little bit more because I'm very novice on social media.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very real when I'm posting. Like I don't know how to do fancy edits and I don't have a content creator. So it's just me really being myself, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
a good area. It's actually good to do that on TikTok. I think it's for women like in our age group. It's a really good community to just kind of share. There's a lot of
Yeah.
storytelling and sharing, and it resonates very well with that community.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I'm looking, I just finished now. I did like a 5-part story time or 5-part series. So what I do is kind of like have a story time, and it was a detox series. So every story time had a different concept, and then I develop a little infographic for that, so people can just refer to the infographic because not everybody wants to or has that time to listen to the whole stories, and then
Right.
share a few recipes here and there. And my recipes are not fancy. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they're very simple.
Yeah.
It's just basically I'd like to grow that community. I think it's grown very nicely since I started in the summer. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm also looking to deepen my understanding further of the Pilates practice,
Mm-hmm.
and get further accredited. So I just started doing anatomy, which is a prerequisite for reformer Pilates. So my plan is to get certified in reformer in the spring. Yeah.
Fantastic. Wow,
Yeah.
that's great. And whatever you're doing on TikTok as you're learning, it's all part of your whole thing. I mean, it's part of the practice. It's part
It
of the
is.
patience. It's part of doing it one step at a time. It's part of doing real. It's part of looking into yourself. It's part of sharing that part of yourself. So it makes total sense what you're doing for sure. Yeah. And so, you know, what are maybe just a couple of other things that you would like to share with people, as we're coming close to the end of our time together?
I think that the biggest thing that I'll share, and I know I sound redundant, is just to be kind to
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not kind to yourself, how can you project that into the
Mm-hmm.
world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I follow a lot of Joe Dispenza's work.
Mm-hmm.
And he speaks a lot about thinking with our heart instead of our minds, and coming from a place of abundance and gratitude will bring you more gratitude in life.
Mm-hmm.
And I really believe that. I believe that when you're taking an approach where you're thankful for what you have, even on the worst days. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
even on those days where everything is going wrong, because we all have those days, if you can come from a place of being grateful, then good things will keep happening,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know so
Yeah.
be kind to yourself, be grateful,
Mm-hmm.
and take your time, and instead of making it about weight loss, make it about a health journey, make it about a growth journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It all sounds so a little cliche, right? Like be kind to yourself and
Does.
and have gratitude. It really sounds cliche,
Yep,
but not but, I hate that word, and it works.
it does.
It really works.
It
It
really does.
does.
Yeah.
I know, it really does. Yeah. So that's a big learning. So patience with yourself. You'll learn to have patience for other people. Be kind to yourself. You end up being kind to other people, and you end up being the person that you want to be, right? You end up becoming more of who you are.
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
Like more of who you are, who you were supposed to be. And I
Yeah.
just wonder, like, you know, do you look back at your 23, 33-year-old self, like, how do you feel when you look back at her because you've changed so much? And I'm asking this because we're all, as we get older as women, we change, and how we look back on ourselves is part of who we are in the
Mhm.
moment.
Yeah.
So, do you ever think about that, or do you ever, what do you
I wish
say to
I could
yourself?
hug her. I wish I could hug her and say, like, you have no idea, like, what life has in store for you.
Mm,
So all those insecurities that you have and all of those limitations that you're putting upon yourself, like, let them
mm,
go.
mm. Yeah.
It's really what I would love to hug my younger self and say, like,
Mm.
you're gonna be okay. You'll see.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah. You're you're a real role model. I
Thank you.
love the growth that you're doing and that you're being so patient with yourself and learning all these new things, and how you're showing us all that you can do that at any age. It doesn't really matter, and that we have to keep supporting each other
Hmm.
and talking about it and sharing what's working for all of us, right? In
Yeah.
this day and age, for sure. Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'll put your TikTok in the notes so that people can start following you.
Thank you.
And yeah, for sure. And we'll keep in touch for sure. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Sharon.
Yeah, yeah. All
Thanks for
right.
having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you again on Your Life Story podcast. Thanks.